Hey everyone, Rick here, and folks, we have something very cool yet very different to show you than I typically make videos on. If you know me, if you've watched my videos for any length of time, you know that I'm not a huge DIYer, so typically I turn down review requests when it comes to things like 3D printing. But the fine folks at Chaotic Neutral Workshop reached out. They have a Kickstarter running now. Link to that in the description. Link to their Instagram profile in the description, and also their My Mini Factory page, also in the description. At the time of this video going live, I believe there's just under 4 days remaining. The Kickstarter that these STL files are for ends November 4th, Monday, November 4th at 8 a.m. Central Time. So still a few days over this weekend to get your pledge level in. At the time of the video, I think they're over 60% funded. So folks, we are so close to making this a reality, and I cannot wait to show you up close what these figures entail, because these are amazing. So like I said, typically 3D printing's not my bag. I have a dear friend who agreed to print these figures for me so I could show them to all of you on behalf of Chaotic Neutral Workshop, and they turned out amazing. In fact, it's kind of funny because my 3D printing friend, he prints things all the time for me, for other people. He's very familiar with multiple different kinds of 3D printing. I can't even go into all of the different terminology he uses because it all goes over my head. He's a guru at it. I still don't understand much about it. I'm just so grateful he agreed to print these for me. But all that to say, want to give him so many props, but also try to drive home the point to you that he knows 3D printing. So when he told me after he printed these figures that the pre-supports that came with the files were some of the best he had ever seen, that was huge coming from him. So these files, all of the figures that you're going to see here are single piece sculpts, essentially. Their bases come separate. The only assembly I had to do, thank goodness, was glue the figures to their bases. But otherwise, the files come with supports and without supports. My 3D printing friend mentioned that in the past, he's had files with supports. He's removed them and made his own. He said he didn't have to do that with this project, so I wanted to call that out because obviously that is huge. Let's get into some basics about the project before we start looking at each of these figures individually, because folks, there's some amazing detail on these figures. The figures have both 32 mil and 75 mil scales. These are printed at the 32 mil level. Again, if you know me, I'm always at the 28-32 scale for any kind of figures that I'm interested in. $35, folks, is the pledge level to get you everything you see here, plus probably one of the most epic pieces of scenery or terrain that you can imagine. The one thing that I did not have printed to show you, but I do have a picture of, is the onyx. That's right, this Viking longship comes in that $35 STL file pack. The water is sculpted. This would be a multi-piece situation, so different segments of the ship, different parts of the water would be separate pieces that you'd print out and assemble. This comes with it, folks, but I at least wanted to show you that. There's greater details, including a 3D rendering of this on the Kickstarter page, so please take a peek at that. As if all of these figures themselves were not enough, there's 10 individual figures here that we'll take a peek at in just a moment. But other than that, we wanted to also reach out and just mention that what each of these figures has entail as far as the different price points. So again, $35 gets you all the STL files for all 10 figures and the Onyx Viking Longship. There is, for $5 more, still a couple of early bird merchant license to sell the prints once you print them out. You can, for $5 extra, you can sell these printed figures yourself if you're into that kind of thing. And once those early bird, I think there were 3 left at the time I took a peek at this. Once those early birds are gone, it goes up to 50. But the coolest pledge level in my in my consideration is the ability to commission your own figure. Yes, if you can believe that. There are still some commission your own figure slots left, and in fact, this may be the one that there were 3 slots left of an early bird commission your own figure for $250. The folks at Chaotic Neutral Workshop will commission your own figure for you, and I believe that comes with a actual printed version of the figure as well. Once those early birds are gone, though, it does jump up to $400. So I think there's 3 of the early birds left. Definitely hop on that. But folks, let's take a peek at each one of these. So the scenery behind these guys, the tree, the house, the well, the sign, the little base plate itself, are not part of the offerings. I just wanted to give a little nifty background to what we're about to take a peek at. So who should we start with? Where is Arn Long Shank? Arn, if you could please come to center stage and let's take a peek at you. All right, folks, look at this guy. So this is Arn Long Shank, and as he's spinning, I'm going to go through some of the fluff here, some of the backstory. So what are we actually doing here? So this Kickstarter, for these 11 total sculpts, the 10 figures and the huge Viking longship, welcome to the Varangian Saga, the first chapter in an unfolding epic of myth, magic, and fate. This core set introduces you to a fearless band of Viking adventurers setting sail aboard the mighty longship, the Onyx, with nothing but their courage, their weapons, and the weight of the world's destiny on their shoulders. Oh, is that all? The weight of the world's destiny. So that is 6 Viking adventures that are kind of, it sounds like the first of potential additional chapters in this, as they call it, unfolding epic. And the journey begins with this group of hardened warriors, each a master of axe, sword, or shield. Together they must face their first harrowing challenge: 2 cursed Draugr, ancient dead risen from their barrows to defend the dying land. So the first guy we have here is Arn Long Shank, and I love the detail on the fur cape. You gotta love that. And I gotta say, 3D printing's come such a long way, right? I mean, look at the thinness of the of the handle of the axe. I want to get in here as close as I possibly can so that you can see. I don't even know if my phone camera can do this justice. I want you to see the chainmail draping down from the helmet. I wanted you to see the fingers of the hands gripping the axe. Like, it's crazy to me, the detail that 3D printers are able to get today. But all of that detail in the bases are all sculpted bases. They're fantastic. All right, let's not spend too much time on Arn, because now we have to go over to Magnus Shield Splitter. He, I believe, is this individual here. Magnus Shield Splitter. First of all, look at his base. This base made up of these large stones is fantastic. And I gotta say, if like, once you have these files, these are your files, so you can print just the bases yourself and use these bases for other figures you might have. But again, look at the teeny tiny, I wish I had something to point with, little chain links on that armor there. Look at the thinness and detail in the weapons. It's absolutely insane. But this is our friend Magnus Shield Splitter. And now let's move on over to Vemund Olson. Come on over here, Vemund. We have, I love this. I love the foot on the rock. I love the standard. And think of all the cool things, just so we get the spear tip of that standard up there. I love all of the things that you could do to personalize that standard even. Come on, there we go. Look at all the detail. Look at the like quilted pattern on that armor coming off of his torso. Look at the little satchel and bags hanging off of his belt. But think of all the cool things that you could put on that banner. I just think it's amazing. Just the fact that how thin, how teeny tiny the detail on these guys is. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So this is Vemund Olson. We now need to move over to Thora. Folks, this is Thora the Cunning. And look at her. My gosh, is she ready for battle? Well, I guess you could hopefully see her if we zoom in a little bit. Focus on Thora the Cunning. Look at the wrinkles in the cape. How cool is that? Again, look at the sculpted base. None of these are just plain flat bases. You can flock that, paint the rocks, whatever you want to do. Look at the detailing on her armor, on her weapon, on the shield, on her hair. That's what also gets me. Look at the strands you can see of her hair, but I love that the sculpt of the cape. Look at the wrinkles and the folds in that. That is astounding to me. Not something you typically see on many other figures that have such high quality detail as this. So that is Thora the Cunning. Now let's move over from Thora to Jorgan the Mad. All right, Jorgan. Jorgan the Mad has the coolest base of anybody. Yeah, that's a dragon head. So, I mean, what more do you need to see or say about Jorgan the Mad? Look at the fur on his hood. I mean, that is like what, a full-on bear skin? He has a bear skin hood that drapes down like a cape. He's standing on a freaking dragon head with a sword still sticking out of it. Again, the base comes separate, so imagine your favorite hero figure and print this base out for them. I mean, how cool would that be? Look at the dragon head itself is just cool with the tongue and the fangs. That's amazing. Look at the weapons hanging off of Jorgan the Mad. I just love him. He's probably my favorite figure of this lot. And then the last figure of the 6 Viking heroes is the Halfdan. And he, thank goodness, I mean, they covered all bases here. We have shields, we have axes, we have swords, we have range, folks. We have a bow and arrow. This is the Halfdan. Again, the tiny detail on that arrowhead. Are you kidding me? He's got a quiver on his back. He has an extra arrow sticking out there, but he also has swords and other weaponry attached to him as well. And he looks fantastic. Look at the kind of the cloak he has over him. Look at that longbow, though. How cool is that? So all our bases are covered. If you've watched my other videos, sometimes these miniature packs of figures come out with a squad or a group, a war band, and they're always missing range or something else. But in this case, we got every base covered here. So those are the 6 Viking heroes. Let's move on over to the undead, the Draugr. Now in that, I'll do one at a time. In that opening thing that I read, it mentioned 2 Draugr, but there are 3 files of Draugr here, starting with this guy. If you can see, as he continues to rotate, oh, that's right, he has 2 blades stuck into him and sticking out the other side. I mean, how cool is that? I just love the way that looks. Plus, he's holding a weapon of his own. Plus, look at his tattered cloak and armor that he's currently wearing. So this is Draugr 1 of 3. Let's move over to this next guy. Before I show you probably my favorite of the 3 Draugr, here's Draugr number 2. And again, very cool. I mean, you can use these undead Viking warriors in anything. My favorite feature about this guy, though, is this, like, broken ankle. I mean, my gosh, this looked like what happened to Aaron Rodgers in the opening game of last season. Look at that. Look at the angle in which his foot is. That's gotta hurt. I mean, you can almost tell a backstory about how probably some kind of severe accident happened to him, and that may have led to his demise originally. But look at the strands of fur across the collar. Like, it's insane, the level of detail. And again, folks, this is the 32 mil version. Imagine all this detail come to life if you're more interested in the 75 mil version. All right, we are moving on to Draugr 3 of 3, and this is probably my favorite one, because this is old Stumpy. Good old Stumps. Because he is missing a leg. He's got a little stump there. He is holding on to his axe for dear life. You can just imagine him hopping along. Poor old guy. Look at that shield. That shield is completely tattered and ripped to shreds. Let's focus on Stumpy here. I mean, it's just a fantastic sculpt. I love the look of it. I love the beards on all these guys. They all have fantastic beards, except for Thora. She is beardless, but you can't fault her for that. I just love Stumpy standing on one leg, using his axe to support him. So those are the 3 Draugr. Now there's this extra figure and also extra large figure. This, folks, is Undead Grindle. I need to back this up a little bit because Undead Grindle is a beast. Look at these ruined shields. Undead Grindle looks absolutely insane. I want to make sure we are focusing on all the areas we need to focus here. Undead Grindle has this cool base with like this log on it, which first of all looks very cool. Undead Grindle, look at these strands of hair. Like, that blew me away that they were able to get those to print. I mean, I still don't understand how all that works. I just think it's absolutely fascinating. Not only can you see all of the bits and bobs on Undead Grindle as we zoom in here to check out that hair. I mean, that hair is absolutely insane. All the features, all the details. I love these broken shields, but I mean, you can't ignore this, right? The fact that Grendel's got somebody by the leg. I mean, come on. That is absolutely hilarious. And that no detail was spared on this poor casualty who's being swung around by their leg. Like, my gosh. And the other crazy thing is, when you look at some of the detail on even this poor casualty, look at their fingers. Come on, I want to really focus on that. The fingers on their hand. Like, look at that. That's absolutely insane. And again, you have to remember how small these figures are to really appreciate all the detail that we're looking at right now. Like, this is absolutely nuts. So this is Undead Grindle. My gosh, you consider this saga, this first chapter of the Varangian Saga, and Undead Grindle seems like a fantastic beast for the 3 Draugr. Once this band of heroes takes care of the 3 Draugr, it's hopefully they have something left in the tank, because Undead Grindle is coming right for them. But again, folks, these files are amazing. My 3D printing friend said as much himself, and he knows 3D printing. He said the pre-supported files were excellent. Again, everything you're seeing here, the figures were one piece, and the bases were a separate piece. The only assembly here was gluing the figures to their bases. The only multi-part kit is going to be this. And yes, that comes in the $35 STL file. So if you want all of these figures, $35. If you want these figures and the ability to sell the prints yourself, $40 while the early bird slots last. And if you're like me and you love the idea of getting your own character involved in this saga and have one commissioned by Chaotic Neutral Workshop yourself, $250. I believe there are still 3 slots for the commissioned figures. But otherwise, folks, I just think this is amazing. Hopefully this was cool to take a peek at this. I know I don't do a lot of reviews on 3D printed stuff, but I mean, when I saw the look of these guys, are you kidding me? These look absolutely insane. All right, that'll do it. Again, links to everything in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. I do truly appreciate it, and until next time.